Hi, welcome to the Create in Conversation series. Today, we'll be speaking with Sean Garrison, the Minneapolis, Minnesota-based artist who reached national acclaim after he was interviewed by various reporters, including Ali Velshi on MSNBC, for the work that he started and completed during the Derek Chauvin verdict. So we're so happy to have you here today. Just a bit, my name is Clark Edmond. I'm the founder of Crate, and I am a Black woman with dark brown skin. I have a medium-sized afro and a headband, and I have a navy blue ribbed turtleneck sweater on, and my surroundings are pretty plain, like I'm in a white room essentially. So yeah, Sean, it's so nice to talk to you today.
Thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here. So my name is, Sean Garrison. I'm 6'2", dark skin, also known as chocolate skin. Uh, I'm wearing a rust-colored shirt, and I'm in my apartment, also known as my studio. I think it's more or less my studio I just sleep in right now.
Yeah.
And I have one of my paintings behind me.
Yeah, can you describe it for us?
The painting behind me is part of another series I've been working on called An Honest American 4Acts. And the first act speaks to all of the mass shootings and gun violence that we're having in this country over the last 40 to 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And each piece is named after the location of the incident, and the volume number is the number of people who were murdered in the incident.
Wow.
And so the particular painting hanging behind me is called Las Vegas, Volume 56. Yes, Volume 56.
Whoa.
I had to look at the tag. And it's gold images to kind of serve as an analogy for the Las Vegas area and all the glitz and glamour and the gambling and whatnot, with the black background, and it has like the blue stream coming from top to bottom is kind of indicative of where the shooter was in the hotel room as like this image of this beam of whatever. So that's the piece behind me. I have a piece across the room that's called Clarkston Volume 9, based on an incident in South Carolina, the Dylann Roof incident in the Black church. And there's several others that I'm working on. So this is part of a bigger whole that would turn into about 120 paintings total when finished. And it's really about starting a conversation and some serious conversations that we need to have in this country.
The way that you're titling this works, it's so important and so poignant. I mean, just hearing the numbers, it's one thing to say, sort of how each massacre, each shooting has a name. We don't really think about the numbers as much as we should, rather than the particular people involved, like the shooter, so to speak.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say it's to do this work. I mean, this particular body of work, it's deep when you sit and just being in it, right? And the energy of it.
You're with the material, like all of the information's like day to day. Yeah, that's a lot to work with, but it's important work that you're doing. And yeah, thank you so much for everything you're doing for your community. As we start this interview, I'd like to learn a little bit more about your background, your upbringing, and what led you to becoming an artist and to where you are today.
Yes. So my background, I'm a native Detroiter. I'm from the D as we call it. So I moved here in '79 with my mother. Some family stuff was going on, so we had to break north, I guess, to be a northwest.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad, but anyway. So been here since then. Single mother, so I saw all of the struggles she's gone through, and even her intestinal fortitude in spirit, which really drives me right now in doing what I do and
Mhm.
all that I do, and and her compassionate heart for humanity and her people, that kind of that can just comes through me when
Yeah.
I create. Um, so when I was younger, I knew. Actually, when I think I was 4, I like drew this picture of this little superhero figure I had, and I was like, this is interesting. So it was cool, and I did it.
I enjoyed this.
Then I set it down, the whole visual thing, for a while, and got to high school and got to this whole dance group thing. Then I started writing. So
Mhm.
I've been writing since I was 17. The visual piece just happened about 11, 12, 10, 11 years ago, is
Wow.
when I became more intentional. And when I was able to call myself an artist, right? Because
Mhm.
it's tough to say, hey, this is who I am. It took me forever to say I was a writer. So now
Yeah.
it took me a while to become or state that, hey, I'm a visual artist, because there's an obligation that comes with that, right? You just can't paint or write something that looks really, in my opinion, if you have this talent that you've been gifted with. I don't think, I think it's a dereliction of your artistic duty just to do
Mhm.
pretty stuff for beautiful works. It's good to do just that hangs over couches or in nice office buildings or whatnot. But there's a lot of society out there, humanity out there, that needs people to speak for them continually
Mhm.
and fervently and with intent to have impact, to make a difference. So with a lot of work that I've been creating lately, it speaks to just that. I mean, I'll get commissions to do the
And
stuff that will go over a couch, but now it's a lot of my work is more socially based. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my background. Oh, and then as far as being now when I became a professional, i.e., when I first got a check,
yeah, let's hear that story.
I had a friend of mine had a clothing store downtown Minneapolis, and he asked me, he said, "Can you paint something?" And I was like, sure." So I painted
Yeah,
something,
I
and
do that.
right, he paid me $100. I was like, wow, I still have the check
Yay!
stub. And this would have been 2009. I
Wow,
still have the check stub. Yeah, that's like, wow, maybe I guess that makes me a semi-professional. I got paid for it.
are professional. You got
You
check.
know?
You got check.
I got a check. So now, it's developed a little bit more, which is great.
And did
So
you see your career going in this direction? Like from the moment, I mean, you've been an artist your entire life. It sounds like you're an artist through and through. But when it comes to visual art, did you see visual art being your primary practice? I mean, I know you still write, but did you see your career going this way?
no, artistically, I didn't. And I still have some people who have seen my art and know that I write, and say, you know what, man, your freedom is going to come through your writing.
Mm,
And so, which is interesting to me, because I mean, right now I'm not sure where my spirit is like stuck in the balance,
yeah,
of this thing. But right, so now it's the visual side of me is commanding me to give it attention.
yeah. More people
But
are. There's a demand for sure.
right, so but the beauty of it is that when I became this when I claimed the title of visual artist, I had been on a mission to figure out how to incorporate my literary side of me
Hmm.
with my visual side of me together without the artwork seeming too contrived or too forced, or and I can paint words on a painting, and that's we can do that, right? But I didn't want to. And sometimes to me that seems contrived. It feels contrived. It feels forced.
Yeah,
So I've
it's
been
however you feel. That's the way I think. If it feels contrived, then it probably is for you.
exactly. So I was on this mission for a while to figure out how do I incorporate these two worlds in a
Mhm.
seamless manner. And so I think I figured it out. I have my own alphabet or iconography based on, what we know as the alphabet.
Mhm.
I guess it would be like be Sean Garrison's hieroglyphics in a sense.
Yeah,
But
you can understand.
right. So what I'm planning on doing? So I have an artist in residency as well with the African American Museum, Heritage, and Gallery. I get that. It's here in Minneapolis, so I
Great.
have to finish this different body of work by the end of December, and it's called abstract prosality. It's some word I squeezed together
Yeah.
to my abstract world in with my writing side. So each piece will have this historical content to it of some sort,
Mhm.
but it'll have an accompanying piece of prose or poetry that goes with it that'll be incorporated into the painting, but
Oh,
you won't know what it is until I give you the key. Then you can break down some of the iconography in addition to whatever else you're saying, and it'll give people a totally different type of engagement with the painting. Because most often you go to the
yeah.
museum, you look at it, go, wow, this is really great. And in 3 minutes, you kind of walk on to the next one. You wake up the next morning, you feel like, hey, I went to a great show, but you
Yeah.
don't feel anything. So the intent with this piece is that it forces a person to sit with the energy, to really decipher, to look at it once. And then once they figure out what it says, then they'll look at it again and it kind of give it a different meaning.
Yes, I love that. I love that. It's like very interactive and it takes art appreciation to a different level, it sounds like, especially for people who may not like think they can appreciate art.
Right.
Say that in quotations, it's like having some sort of exercise, it brings them further into that entire experience. That's really great.
Definitely.
Very innovative. Yes.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I tell people, I said, you're gonna love me, or you're gonna hate me, give me a hug, or you're gonna cuss me out.
Well,
But
that's
as
fine.
long as you're doing something and saying something and showing me any emotion, the job is done. After that, we can have a conversation, and that's what it's about. It's
Mhm.
only get to this better day, as we always call it, and then constantly seeking is through conversation. And
That's
sometimes
it.
conversation is not easy, but on the
Most of
other
the
end
time,
of
if
that,
the conversation's worth being had, it's usually if a conversation's uncomfortable, then it's probably worth being had. So
exactly, I agree. I
great that
agree.
there are artists like you doing this. I wanted to ask a bit. You spoke about the role of the artist before and what you consider your role as an artist to be. I'd like to know more about your experience after George Floyd's murder and like during and before and during the Derek Chauvin's verdict was announced, because as we know, I was introduced to your work on the television, but then after learning more and more and more about the work that you created, walking on air, I learning that you started that work before the verdict, that really changed things for me. And then like seeing during the interview that like the colors changed like with your emotions. So I have, two brothers. They're African American men. And,
Mhm.
just thinking about their experience during this whole time, um, I think it's like it's one thing to see it on the news. It is another thing to think about the personal experience of a Black person, a Black man who's experiencing all of this in your city, out on the protest lines, outside of the courtroom. So, what was that experience like? I know that's like a very open ended question. Sort of just like take us where you want us to go, because it's just like the experience of a Black man is just during that. I just want to know more. That's all.
No, thank you. The experience is it's heavy.
Hmm.
You know, being in Minneapolis, knowing the history of Minneapolis as it relates to the relationship between the police department here and the community, the people. Knowing one young man, and this has been years ago, that has gotten murdered by the police. And this has been maybe 87, 88, I think it was. Growing up a block away from another different police murder, Jamar Clark. being in the, being here where, Fernando Castillo, I'm like 10 minutes from where that was. And actually I shot a video with this guy. We were doing some work on that. And then most recently Dante right here.
Mhm.
So with just those 3 or 4 incidences, it kind of sums up for me this existence here in this country as a black man, right? Last year during the pandemic, we did a Black Lives Matter mural at the corner of Penn and Plymouth. Plymouth is like one of the major roads that goes through north side of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And I'll get to George Floyd in a minute. And inside of my image, I had to be. I always want the first letter. I figure if you're not first, you're last.
Mhm.
But it had a lot of it had black roses in it.
Mhm.
And people asked me what that was about. And I said, well, the rose to me is like America's relationship with black men and black people in general, right? Sometimes it can't figure if it wants to love us or hate us, right? It's beautiful until it pricks its finger. Now you want to curse the rose out, or now you want to curse the world because now you're in pain.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the way I think this country, our relationship with this country is. One minute, hey, if we're dancing and singing and we love us, if we just want to be excellent black, and sometimes just being black on our own time and our own business, enjoying this sun, that's an issue for people.
Yeah.
Right? That's an issue for this society. And so it's different. I told a young group of students at one of the arts high schools here, they were 95, 99% European American kids,
Mhm.
is that, you know what, I wouldn't wish my existence on any of them. I love who I am. I love every ounce of my blackness, Africanness, every stitch of this melanin. I love and I enjoy it and everything that it brings. However, there's a weight that we wear, that we hold in this country by being just who we are.
Mhm.
And sometimes it gets to be overbearing. And it gets one of those things that, I want to pass this on to somebody I dislike, but that's not right either. So
Yeah.
sometimes I love it. I wouldn't give this to them, right? But the beauty in us is that, we're the descendants of those that could not kill. That's what they say, right? So if my thing is, if those brothers and sisters could make it in those hulls of ships over that voyage,
We can.
then exactly, where our blood is already fortified to carry the weight.
Love that word, fortified.
So 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 George Floyd.
Yeah.
So that day, I guess it'd be a year and a day now.
A year and a day. That's
Year
right.
and a day. The day it happened, I was sitting around trying to figure out my space in this space and what I was going to do.
Mhm.
So after thinking a good 4 or 5 hours, I landed on, I'm gonna go to South Minneapolis and see if there are any other elders out here who are trying to calm some of the energy down,
Mhm.
right? Because we knew we knew what it was gonna be.
Yeah.
So when I was about half a mile from where George Floyd was murdered, I'm sitting at the intersections about 10:30 in the evening, and I'm seeing hundreds of people. I'm feeling all this energy, and I don't see anyone out here. It's just these young folks, and people are just in the moment.
Yeah.
And so, so I went on home and and made some calls to see what the next step would be. So the next morning, and for the 4 days after that, I was in St. Paul, Minnesota, this other city of the Twin Cities, and I stood on University Avenue, those 4 nights. So I had a friend of mine who had a store there, and he didn't want it to get it. He didn't want it destroyed, and
Mhm.
so myself and other guys helped him out, keeping it intact. But it was it was it was a heavy but beautiful moment,
Mhm.
to stand there. Now, granted, there were some opportunists there. There were some people that weren't from the area that came in and said, "Hey, here's an opportunity. so on and so forth. But that was irrelevant to me
Mm-hmm.
because what I saw while standing on University and Pasco was a corner street, and I looked to my left. Yeah, so I was standing at the corner of University and Pasco, and about after the sun went down. It was different because at that corner there were about 20 state troopers and different law enforcement or agencies at the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And folks, people were doing what they were doing. And I'm not sure what their command was, but they just stood pat.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what that was about. Didn't care to ask. But I would look one way and there would be a building on fire. Then I look to my right, there'd be another building on fire. No more than 5 minutes later, I look to the left again, there's another building on fire. So about an hour after the first one was set afire, it was almost in my head, it seemed like it was like midday.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking at this point, it's like midnight, 1 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole scene was like some Michael Bay Armageddon type movie because the soot and the cinders are floating in the air and this glow and this energy, these people going screaming. I mean, it was tragically beautiful
Mm-hmm.
in that, and I say that because I know a lot of folks, they get upset. Well, they shouldn't be looting, they're tearing things down. And my response is this country's been looting our lives since day one. They've been trying to tear us down and kill us since day one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not worried about or too concerned with structures and property when I know there's insurance involved. And some of these businesses probably were happy because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Nobody was making money. Everybody's bottom line was broke. So yeah,
That's the word.
and I told quite a few people, I said they probably made a lot more money this week and just on insurance than they did the previous 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
But that's neither here nor there. So I don't have an issue with that because you can only kick a person or kick a dog for so long before you get bit.
Mm-hmm.
You can only paint a cat in the corner for so long before you get scratched.
Mm-hmm.
And those are extremely simple analogies, but we're humans and we've been dealing with this thing and been fighting with this behemoth called America since 1619. At least that's when the first slave was sold in Jamestown, Virginia. Uh, and it's this constant thing. Now, because of who we are, because our blood is fortified, we've broken some ground and made some headway, right? We're not wearing shackles and we're not being hunted down the streets anymore. And we can come through the front door. But there's still a lot of work to do.
A lot.
A
Yes. A lot.
lot of work to do. And when Brother George Floyd was murdered, that was just further proof, right?
Yeah.
That was like the breaking point for America because we knew what had been going on, from we knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with Brother George Floyd being murdered, what made the difference was, America had to see itself in that officer's eyes.
It's interesting because there's, you know, like um, George Floyd's murder called attention, called this police brutality and misuse of force and power of police force. It's called that to attention to the entire world, really to the rest of the country through film, because there was like recording. You cannot deny what
Yes,
happened. It's sort of like during the civil rights movement, how civil rights protests were recorded and filmed and put on national television. And
that's
for the
right.
first time, the rest of the nation saw, protesters being beaten by Southern cops and like just how brutal they were being to peaceful protesters. it's just, I find that really interesting how like really technology even has
Yes.
moved things forward in a way that I don't know. I don't think anyone would have expected it to serve that purpose, but it also holds this like it's literal evidence in a court case. And I sort of see artists the same way. Like what y'all do is you create in order to express a history and a
Yeah.
story that we can look back to. So, with the work behind you, your entire series, everything that you're doing, it's really important because we can all look back to like this time and know
Def-
exactly what people were thinking and feeling. I mean, through your eyes, of course, and your perspective. But yeah, I interrupted you because it was very like emotional, but
Oh no, no worries, because I'm feeling it too. Every time I talk about this, it's heavy, right? Because you know, you think when is this country gonna figure this out?
and you
When is America gonna give us a break? When are people truly gonna stick their heels in the ground and say, listen, let's fix this?
mhm,
And I'm talking about the majority, because we as a people, the majority of us, Black folks, African Americans, whatever term folks want to use, we've been in this fight.
mhm.
We've been in this fight. We fought, we died, we screamed, we cried, we marched, we burned.
Some people just lived, and you're just
And some
involved
people,
because you're born.
right, right. So you go, okay, when are y'all gonna get it? Because if we didn't have to,
Mhm.
we wouldn't want to have to go through all of this as a people,
Do you
right?
think that like, do you think that, I mean, being a local, that experience, was it amplified for you?
Oh,
Because
it was,
I mean,
yes. And honestly, you know what? I remember when last year happened, I had a buddy of mine call me from, he's in Atlanta.
hey.
And he goes, man, I didn't know Minneapolis had this in them. And I was like, what? Neither did I.
Wow.
I'm like, whoa. I
Hey.
said, this is deep and this is heavy, but being a local, it is, because we know the history, right? I know the history of this thing. And
Mhm.
you can see it coming.
Yeah, like you could
And you could
feel it.
see it, you
Yeah.
could you could feel it, right? It's like, it's that, you keep putting drops in the coffee mug, it's gonna overflow after a while.
Mhm.
And then when that water gets just above, right before, but you just kind of watching it shake, and okay, one more drop and it's gonna go. And
Yeah.
that was the drop, and it was there. And so,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but it was, like I said, it was a beautiful thing. I mean, I love when folks express themselves, however they express themselves, because my thing is, as long as you're doing something. And I know a lot of people who talk, but don't do a thing. I said, you know what? You can't care from the couch.
Mhm.
You can't care from the couch. Get up and get whatever. Get up and get out. That means you need to get up, get out, and go donate some money to somebody. But you need to be seen. I
Yes.
mean, can't care from the couch. Now, that's one of my guiding tenets in life. You can't care from the couch. Sign what you're gonna do. You can't sit there and talk about it. What you're gonna do.
What do you
So,
that's
so as an artist, right? As an artist, it's incumbent upon me to do just that.
mhm.
So, the day of the verdict, speaking to that, well, actually the day they announced the court date, which
Yeah.
would have been maybe August of last 2020.
Mhm.
I knew then that I was going to be in the streets painting.
Mm.
I had started prepping for this thing. I had got my gas mask. I was working on my bulletproof vest because I know how
The
things
thing
can
that
get.
like those having to get like tactical gear, I mean, just the reality of like the American experience, it's just hit me. I was like, oh yeah, I want to go paint. I'm gonna go have to get some like gas masks to go outside and paint. Wow. Keep
Yeah,
going. It's like,
I mean, that's crazy, right?
right,
So,
it
I
is.
mean, it's funny, and even with how these young folks are today, right? I say young, as in younger than me. So my daughter, this one, I'll get back to. I'm going. So my daughter, she lives in Delaware, and they went on a. She and her mother went on a protest for George Floyd in Delaware.
Mhm.
My daughter was, she was packing the things you need in case to mitigate the effects of tear gas. And my daughter's 12,
Oh my gosh, that breaks my heart.
right? So I take it back. At this time she was 11. She just turned 12.
Oh my,
So it's like, wow, this is heavy. So when I'm getting my stuff together, I'm like, shucks, I need to call my 12-year-old to figure out how to deal with tear gas.
because she knows.
Because she knows. And then you think,
Ah,
why do I even have to
why are
have
we
this
even having this
conversation with my 12-year-old?
That is
Right.
nuts.
And then the more of a sad thing here, and I'm not about to get misty eyed. I'm told myself I'm not getting misty
It's
eyed.
okay.
Not
I'm
gonna
a
happen.
crier. I'm a crier.
Is that the day she saw the George Floyd video, all she saw was a bald head underneath. She didn't hear any captions, see anything. She asked her mother, "Is that dad?"
Stop. Okay. No. Okay.
She said, "Is that my dad?" And so when she told me that, I was like, I got more work to do.
Oh gosh.
I have more work to do because no child should have to worry about that with their parents.
Mm-mm. Oh wow.
Such as no parents have to worry about is their son or daughter coming home, right? And that goes back to that heaviness of our existence in this country. Is that when our parents and our children going to be able to just know that you're coming back at
Yeah.
night?
Mm-hmm.
When are you going to pick the phone up if I call you? To this day, even
Take your time.
back to the day I decided, and this is ties together, the day I decided that I was going to paint, I figured I'd be still in the middle of this love rise. I
Mm-hmm.
figured I'd be ducking rubber bullets or getting hit by them, whatever the case may be. I was going to be there painting because as an abstract artist, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to say, hey, I need to feel this because this keeps me closer to the fight, keeps me closer to my humanity, keeps me closer to my people, keeps me closer to the struggle. And if I call myself an artist, then it's on me to say, hey, this is what it is to document this thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the beauty in visual arts or song is that people can look at this and behind me know what it is. I don't have to be there to explain it to you.
Yeah.
Right. So I wanted to leave us documentation. I had to start gathering. I had like a ton of this ash I've been collecting from people because I was gonna make this pigment made out of ash, and I'm still gonna do it. And it's here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just ready to go. But so I knew that was gonna happen. When I found a verdict came in, I said, okay, great. I'm gonna go down here. And speaking of how we communicate with our parents, and our parents want to make sure that we're gonna make it home, the first person I thought for was my mother. And I said, Ma, this is what's going. The verdict came in. I'm going down here, and look, I'm gonna say like a block and a half from where the verdict where the court was, the proceedings were going on. I walked down. I said I was going down. He said, call me when you get there. You got it. Now I'm 52.
Mm-hmm.
My mother always told me, she said, son, no matter how old you are, you still be my baby.
No, that's right.
Right. And so I make it a point to talk to her every day because I know how she is. And I know she worries daily.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And shouldn't have to, but she does. So I get down there, I'm sitting there like, oh, I need to call my mother. So I call, and at the point, one of the local TV stations that called up with me, they had me mic'd up. And I didn't realize that the mic was hot.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they put on and walked away, that bad boy was turned on. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And so I called my mother and I'm talking to her, and this was all on the little thing they did on TV. And it was the funniest thing because I didn't know the mic was hot. I'm watching this thing with my mother. I called her and said, Ma, get online and about to show this clip. So I'm talking to her. I'm saying, "Hey, mom, I'm down here." She's like, "Down where?" I'm down here at the verdict. And she's telling me, "You don't have to be down there. You can pan into an apartment." And I could hear
Like,
in her
why
voice,
there?
right? You don't have to be there.
Can't you
Because she
come
knows how,
home?
because she knows how things can get.
Yeah.
So I said, my response was, "I know." But the way I said it, it took me back literally 42 years. I feel like I was 10 years old and got caught my hand in the cookie jar. And she's
Mhm.
like, "Boy, get your hand in the cookie jar." I'm like, "I know." And, that's how it sounded. And so I'm
I
like,
know it's common.
I was laughing and she was laughing. And, and now here we are today, right? So, the day of, and being down there and just sitting up and just watching the people.
Mhm.
And then you look at just the different parts of the whole. You have the people waiting for the verdict, you know, chatting and saying what they say. You have the throng of media across the street and all over the place. You look up to the left where the government center is, where proceedings take place, and you see National Guard. It's like, wow, so I'm just trying to feel.
Sure.
I'm absorbing all this energy, right?
Mhm.
Because that's how I paint. I mean, typically I'm like on vibe.
Yeah.
If it's just the environment, I may throw in some music. If I want something cool, I may throw in some Chopin or some Rachmaninoff. If I want
Yeah.
some real energetic, I might throw an NWA or Public Enemy.
Oh.
Right, depending on how I want this thing to feel.
Mhm.
And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? This is about to go so far left because we've been down this road before,
Mhm.
and we've seen how these things play out. And I was I had zero hope. I said, this is about to go left. Make sure okay, got my gas mask in order. Let me pull out this paint. And so it started out just dark. It
Mhm.
was all mostly black, mostly red, and some gentleman came and he asked me, so what's this about? And I told him. I said, man, but guess what? I said, what's more crazy about this scene? I
Mhm.
said, if those dudes up there, I mean the National Guard, I said, if they were protecting the people instead of these buildings, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Ciao.
You know, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But here we are. So then when the verdict was read, and that cat
Like,
found guilty on all three counts.
that was
I would,
like,
it's like the world stopped for a minute. I mean, I literally could feel the earth stop spinning. I was like, did I just hear three guilties?
I don't think
Uh,
I think like collect everyone. I saw it on the news and I was like, no. I had to step out, come back in, look at the verdict because it was unreal. I did not expect it. I didn't expect it at all.
Yeah, and it was really heavy. So, and neither did I, right? So, but when I started painting, Ali Velshi, the guy from MSNBC, he asked me, interviewed me. He said, "Well, what's this about?" I said, "What is it going to be? What are you going to title it? What's it going to be?" I said, "I don't know, man. It's either going to be heaven or hell.
Yep, you did
That's
say
what this is going to be. It's going to be heaven. It's going to be hell." And so when the verdict was read, again, after I had to make sure the guy from the Twilight Zone didn't pop out, tap me on the shoulder, and say, "Psych, I'm just joking."
hmm
I had to make sure this was real.
Yeah, check it a few times.
All
Fact check.
right. So then the whole energy of the painting, because at that point I'm listening to people cheer.
Yeah,
I mean, cars are honking. You would have thought when these professional sports team would won some type of championship, it was that type of energy.
yeah.
Like the earth was shaking,
hmm
and so I just started, painting what I felt
Yeah.
in that moment and the energy of the people. And so when the reporters asked me what it felt like, I said, this is like walking on air, and this is like the closest thing to heaven I'm gonna get without leaving Earth.
hmm
Because after all the letdowns and the gut punches, after all the videos, I mean, we have so many dang videos, we could put MTV out of business with all the videos of police shootings that we have. So after all those failed us, or the legal system, or those who are seeing this thing felt like we didn't have enough humanity to say this was a murder, to actually see that
as of
and
what
be
was.
there to feel that was incredible, right? Because it wasn't, because I do think if that individual would have gotten just found guilty on the lesser of all the charges, we still be have National Guard down here
For sure.
because the people weren't having it, right? They weren't having it, and you know, one thing I did love about it is that it was all the young people. I was like, oh, these kids, yes, yes, this is what this is about,
Yeah.
right? And it was almost one of those things where even last year I kind of felt bad, right?
Oh.
And that I called when this was going on. I called 4 people.
Mhm.
I called my mother to apologize because I told her, I said, my generation didn't do enough to prevent Brother George Floyd from being murdered.
Mm.
Because they did all the fight during the 60s. And, you know, she was born in 47. They went through all of that. You know, the March on Selma, the DC March, dealing with the water hoses and the dogs and all that to get us so that we didn't have to come through the back door no more.
Mhm.
Right? To get here today, and when then my generation got too comfortable and said, okay, things are cool. And it's not absolute, but quite a few people forgot that we were still in this fight. Right? So I apologized to her. Then I had to call
Wait,
my
what
daughter.
did she say? What did your mom say?
She was just, she just said, "I know, baby." That's all. That's all she said. Because she know how I felt,
Yeah.
you know, and she recognized my role. That she knows that I'm still fighting.
Yeah, you've been
So
doing.
she affirmed that as well. But it just felt, it was just such a big disappointment that here we are, and we shouldn't have to be here. So then I called my daughters to apologize to them because they shouldn't have to still be in this type of society. My generation forgot.
Oh man, that's too much. You're putting way too much on your shoulders, I think. That seems like too much.
Uh, mm,
I can't imagine because I don't have children.
it's
I'm so
mm,
sorry.
you know, and it's not just. Mm, I'm sorry.
No, don't
You
apologize.
know, and it's not just. But I have to apologize to them because they shouldn't have to be in this world, right? Anyone in our younger generation shouldn't have to be dealing with this still. You know, and that would be yourself and anyone else, right? If we didn't decide to stop racing, it's like we have a 4x100 race, and if that baton gets passed in my generation, we decide to walk
Mm-hmm.
as a whole because we didn't have to come to the back door no more. Folks were able to make a little bit of money, you know, and people forget that we create so much revenue anyway. If we have collectively decided that we're gonna, you know, we need to get to the table to fix this, we could have done that, but people forgot. So, so then when you know when Brother George Floyd was murdered, to go back to that, the reason why I feel that it had the impact that it had,
Mm-hmm.
because for the first time in all of these police shootings, not the lynchings, because there's a connection in my book, but
Oh, for sure.
the first time, and you know, and I believe in a higher power, right?
Mhm.
So I think that the higher power believe in God said, I'm gonna stop this world for a minute. I'm gonna stop the society so you can see the damage you're doing to humanity right now.
Mhm.
You have to have this moment to be still. You don't have to worry about having to be in work and doing all these other distractions. I'm gonna stop this moment. And so when that cop was kneeling on that brother George Floyd's neck, and he's looking straight into this camera as if he wasn't even breathing. He
Mhm.
didn't even blink. America, the world,
So,
we had already known these things had been happening. We saw these other videos, whatever, right? but they were forced because they were still to look into this dude's eyes, and his eyes told the story, right? The first time I saw that video, the eyes I saw were the eyes of this dude in this 1920 photo of a Duluth lynching. Duluth is about 2.5 hours from where I am, Minnesota. There's all these gentlemen standing around us, two bodies hanging, one's on the ground, and all these guys standing just like that up that like they're at a picnic. But
They
there's a
literally would go celebrate, and like it was like
yes,
going out to the movies. Like, oh,
right. It
let's
was
watch this lynching today.
yeah, this is like a big event. So but there's a person in this photo whose eyes I saw when I saw that cop. I
Hmm.
was like, this is deep. And I called somebody, I said, you know what? This is gonna be different because now America can't shake this. They had to sit and look into the eyes of this, right? And there, they said eyes are the ports of the soul. And so America, those who have been ignoring this had to see this. And
Hmm.
they saw, uncle, cousin, grandfather, steps. I mean, they saw everybody in their family, in this one person. And go, we can't be, and I know that's the case. We can't be this evil. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, America is this evil, right? And so you go to sleep and you wake up, but you have this deep hurt and this pain. It may not even be anger, it's this pain. Like, hold up, why do I feel this way? How do I divest myself of this feeling?
Hmm.
Because this isn't right.
Hmm.
So at that point, that's when we saw this groundswell of support for organizations that, Black-led organizations and artists and all the different things. There are a couple of organizations here that at had millions of dollars in donations. I'm not even gonna name the organizations that they have so much money they didn't even know what to do with it. Probably still don't know what to do with it.
Well, for a minute, but
Right. So
that's
anyway,
like,
so it's so in a sense, um, brother George Floyd, I'm sure he didn't wake up saying, I'm gonna go be a hero today. He didn't wake up thinking that.
mm-mm.
But by the next day, by that night, he had become one. Because even us, we had to see what was going on. We needed an extra. The world, right, needed a kick in the pants, and he was the foot. And since then, it's been this thing. And so, what I hope, that's my coffee maker. You heard that beat. but what I hope is that we don't forget how to run.
Hmm.
People get tired. And I tell people all the time, listen, run as far as you can run, pass the baton, get your water, and get ready to take the baton and keep running.
Hmm.
Because we don't get anywhere being apathetic. We don't get anywhere being stoic. We don't get anywhere being comfortable.
That's true.
No. And then we keep having these stories, the Ahmaud Arbery's, the Dante Wrights, I mean, and the brother in Wisconsin. I mean, so and Breonna, I mean, we can go on forever. So
Forever.
it's
Like,
and as artists, and that's if you want to be a painter, singer, whatever it is, it's your role, it's your obligation. I think that's on my website. It's my obligation to say, hey, this isn't okay. So how can I do this? I mean, now my younger years, I would have thrown a brick
yeah.
in my younger years, but now I have 3 kids and not as fast as I used to be.
Can't run.
Can't run. So I throw paint
Yes.
in the best way possible,
Love that.
just to to talk about what's going on. Because we don't, if everyone just took their obligation, right,
Hmm.
and kicked the proverbial can down the road an inch, by the time we all get done kicking the same can, we're miles down the road. We're
Thank you so
miles
far.
closer to a better day.
Hmm.
But some folks forget. They have a
Yeah.
foot. It's like, come on, there's no space for that. There's no space for us to sit on our laurels and say everything is okay and cool. It's okay to be tired. You're human. Be tired and get back in the game,
Mhm.
one way, shape, or form. So, and as an artist, once someone says, "Hey, I'm an artist, I'm a writer," okay,
So
now
what
you're in trouble with me because I'm gonna hold you accountable.
I
If
like
you're gonna be a right artist, you have to be doing this.
I like how because we were just talking before we started recording about like writing, calling yourself a writer, an artist or not, and you framing it as like once you call yourself that, you have an obligation to do something. And that's a great way. It's like, are you ready? Are you really ready? Are you ready for this? But thank you so much for sharing all of that. I mean, yeah, that was incredibly, yeah, that was enlightening. And thank you so much for sharing your personal experience, especially because, not all of us are from Minneapolis. Not all of us are artists. And just like really having you talk us through like the emotions behind your work, your responses, your interactions with your family. That is, I mean, thank you for just being so open and honest with us. Um, I have another question about you're an advocate in so many ways. So I'd love it if you would tell us some more about the organizations that you work with, some of the, things that you've been working on, and about you have an art collective, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So the art collective, co-founder of this art collective, um, was a co-founding member, I guess they say.
Yeah.
It's called the Rojo Collective, ROHO. Rojo is soul in Swahili. Rojo is Swahili for soul,
Mhm.
and so it's a collective of Black artists and some other artists of color. And right now we're at about, I want to say about 40 members, I think.
That's big.
Yeah. Yeah, we've grown a lot faster last year and a half than
Mhm.
previously, which is great. And so and we've opened it up a little bit, which is hence that's the growth. We're just visual artists. Now it's whatever art you're in, just come on, let's figure out how to make this thing work together.
So,
And one of our tenants is using art as a healing tool, as a
mhm.
tool to speak, as a tool to say, hey, how do we bring community together to get beyond this thing together, whatever that is. Um, so we've done, several things. Actually, we did a mural. We did I would say, the very first mural after Brother George Floyd was murdered. That's what I would say. Because
Really?
put up we put up a small little canvas on this fence, right, not too far where Brother George Floyd was murdered.
Mhm.
One of the artists did a sketch, and the community just came and added.
Wow.
So it was cool that so I was looking at what is her video the
Yeah.
video I Can't Breathe. So it's in that video. It's
Oh,
like
it
the
is?
clip of it. Yeah, I
Oh,
have to figure
I
and find it, and I
yeah.
can tell you exactly what point it's at. But uh, excuse me. So, but yeah, so Rojo Collective, we've been doing quite a bit. And every artist I find, I tell them to come on home.
Come through.
Come on, join the collective. So we have some people. We have actually one sister thinks she's in London,
Oh, great.
one in New York, one in thinks she's in Oregon now. She was in Cali.
So it's international. That's
Yeah,
really
man.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. We you trying to pull people in from all over the place,
yeah.
and I know quite a few people. So if I know them, come on, let's go.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Send them your way. That's like
Right, exactly. So we have a sister in Montreal that she's a writer, trying to get her involved. And I met a cat from Milwaukee yesterday. I'm trying to get involved. So I told him he's not too far from me. I'll come find him until he joins.
it's like
But yeah, so that's our goal, is to bring art to the community, edify the artists that are in the organization as well, because we all know as artists that we could do art 24 hours a day. we would do it.
Yes.
But the unfortunate thing is some folks, aren't in a position where they can quit their day jobs, and do art all day. So that's another part of our mission. How do we get our artists to that point?
Yes.
Because, if you have space to be free, because art is freeing, that means you have space to say what needs to be said.
Mhm.
You have space that needs to be said, then you might be able to change a life or two. So that's the way I see it. So let's go.
You keep
And
saying these things, and I'm like, apologies if I'm not speaking enough, but like,
oh,
wow,
no, no worries.
you keep
No
saying,
worries.
and I'm like, well, he said it. He said it. You're saying all of the things that he
So, but yeah, so that's the collective, the
said.
rohocollective.org.
.org.
Yep. Rohocollective.org. Yeah, we're 501c3. That was quite the process. I sat in on that. That was fun. So,
That's
woo,
it's an extensive process getting. I mean, yeah,
yes, yes,
nonprofit and like tax law, just tax structures, fascinating, too
yes.
complicated. Get ready for your first tax year now, because it's
Exactly, exactly.
it's
So,
tough about taxes.
yeah, so that's one part, and then some other work I've been doing in the community here. I have this got this commission with Cub Foods here. They're
Mhm.
one of the larger grocery store chains here in Minneapolis. And last year, this particular location, which is in North Minneapolis, which actually it might have the highest disparities. Let me back up. Minnesota has some of the highest disparities between Black and white folks in the country.
Mhm.
Income, education, so on and so forth. And North Minneapolis, where large concentration of brothers and sisters reside, there's a lot of stuff going on. So when the Love Rising happened last year, that particular location was destroyed. The franchisee, he wanted out. The corporate office bought the space, bought the store from him,
Mhm.
and they decided that they wanted to reopen in North Minneapolis. They made a commitment, which I commend them for, because it was shocking. I'd never seen a corporation entity do this type of work,
Mhm.
where they were actually boots on the ground, even when the store was torn down last year.
Mhm.
They had a shuttle bus. They would shuttle people to other stores that were still open.
Wow,
Yeah, and they had food distribution in the parking lot. It was pretty incredible, actually. And
that is.
so when they decided to rebuild the store, they asked some of the community folks, what did we need? And they said, we need a community space. They said, you got it. And so there's a portion of the store on the far right end of the store,
Mhm.
if you're facing it, and it's a nice size space. And they'll use it for, different programming, arts programming, jobs, resource programming, things that and people in the community need, resources, right? And I just happen to be the lucky guy or the blessed guy to get the commission job to do the artwork for the entire space.
That's
So
great.
I'm doing this entire piece, 60 feet by 9 feet mural is one wall. The other wall is just as long as kind of broken down. I have some other things planned for that.
Mhm.
And it's gonna be, I'll tell you, it's gonna be magical. It's like the Sistine Chapel still in North Minneapolis.
Yay!
And every and every time I go in there, after I'll go there later on the night, I mean, I just get this vibe. It's like, you know what? And I'm always shaking. It's like when they see on the wall what I see in my head, it's gonna shut it down. And the biggest thing I was telling this guy that was there, I said, my thing is I want these kids to come in and just go, wow, with like 5 O's in the middle. I just mean just like this extent, like wow, and once these kids get to that magical space, because kids don't lie to us, and
No.
that's before they learn some stuff. but when they're young, they just say whatever's on their mind. It's like, and it's always the truth. Like, wow, that's deep. I can't even argue with that. You're like 3 or you're 4.
Yeah,
But
you can. They really
but yeah, once they come in, if they get excited, then I know the job is done.
and
You know,
seeing
and
the love put back into their community,
mhm.
that, I can only imagine how that would feel for them. After,
Yeah, so that's
traumatic year, couple of, life even, seeing the community. give back to them in the way that they deserve. And also a local artist creating creating a magical space. That's inspiring.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's cool. So I'll make sure you get all the details when it's done.
Yeah.
Uh, and then something else I'm working on is called Northside Love.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it started out as I did this image again during the pandemic. There's an art crawl here, this thing that they do in North Minneapolis, where I just kind of connect with businesses or whatnot, to do art in the streets. And so I was, excuse me. So my arts collective, we were doing something in the parking lot here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny how energy gets shifted and how God works with you. So I had this sketch. I was gonna do this little mural, like 4 by 6 feet. So I'm gonna set it up. I'm gonna do it. Let the community add into it, and we'll just let it be that, right? So, but when I got there, like the night before, someone had got murdered, and so I was sitting in front of this canvas, and I was feeling conflicted. I was like, okay, this image is okay, but that's not what I'm feeling right now. I need to figure out what can I do as an artist to change some of the energy in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Because in 2 zip codes in North Minneapolis, we account for maybe 60% of all the shootings and the murders in the city. So we
Dang.
have 2 zip codes, right? Entire city of Minneapolis account for it. And I would say 70%, but Southside been getting kind of busy, unfortunately. So about 60% of all the shootings and all the murders in the city of Minneapolis are in 2 zip codes. And so when I was about to do this painting, I said, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. So I painted Northside Love on the canvas, and then some folks add their energy. So I created it and I threw it up on Facebook. And people started asking me, you have this on a t-shirt? And I'm like, yeah.
For sure.
I did at the time, right?
Goes to
So
make
what I decided to do, I said, you know what? I'm going to create a poster
yeah.
and build a poster, right? Or a print. So then I had to take it a step further. But then, I went out of town, came back, a few things happened. So I started some of these hoodies with this image on it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, with the poster, I decided, I said, you know what? Some of the people who will want this poster may even need this poster, may not be able to afford this poster.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done is I've gotten different nonprofits here to support it. So now I'm just waiting for 2 more organizations to get back to me. They've already said yes, but we need to, you know,
Yeah.
send in the support, right? And so when that's done, then I'll create this poster, and I'll have their information at the bottom, and then I'll be distributing 10,000 posters to the community for free.
Wow.
Where everybody can have it. The kids may need it. I'm walking up to the guys on the corners on the block. I already know, say, I'm coming in love, brother. Here you go. And I know you got kids, so hang it up.
Yes.
You got to stop this madness. And then, so in all the proceeds that go from the sales of that merchandise will go towards those who are doing the work in the streets. And which is really cool with the Cub, with the Cub Foods thing is,
Yeah.
I'm a vendor now, right? So
Oh.
so what they said I could do, and this was brought to me, I didn't bring this to them. So I'll be selling merchandise, Northside Love merchandise through the store, which is pretty cool.
That's major.
Right, it's pretty awesome, right? So I'm just, it's so.
Creative with your advocacy and your social justice work. You're very okay, this is what we're gonna solve. This is the problem we need to solve, and you just get it done. You really, it seems like, or from what I'm hearing, and I can tell, is that you pull community members together,
Right,
stakeholders together to accomplish tasks and really make sure that your community is better, especially the kids.
yeah, and we have to, right? And I was at this, and it's kind of something that what you just said to the kids. Like there was a moment at the tail end of the the George Floyd function yesterday. We had 3 artists. We did these little panels on this wood that was donated from these stores that boarded up. So the community would come, people would come and add it, their emotional input. This little girl came with her dad. She was about two or three. And she picks up this paintbrush and he's letting her do her thing. She's cute as a button.
That's so
But so
cute.
she's sitting there and I'm looking, and then she just like an abstract artist, she's going all outside the lines, painting over stuff other folks have done. And her dad's like, "Oh no, stay within the lines." I'm like, "Brother, listen, let her do her."
Yes, I love
Because
that. I was like, let her
because
go.
let her go, because the reason why we fighting is for her.
Mhm.
This is her space, right? This is her space. And she just was there. I mean, listen, that made the day.
That might make me cry again because
And so then I was walking to the car, right? And my car was about two blocks away. And I saw the brother and his child.
Mhm.
And I walk past the head and I get to the corner and he runs up to him. He goes, "You know what? I really appreciate what you did for my daughter
Mm.
and me, and allow me to, allow her to do what she does." I said, "Brother, that's why we do what we do." You know, so art for me isn't just doing something that looks great on your wall. I mean, that makes me feel good too.
Mhm.
But it's really about the people in the community, and what can I say? Because even if we look at, just a piece of art from through a lens of community,
Mhm.
everything that composes that piece is a community. Everything, you have to take something to pull it all together, right? It might be a one particular paintbrush here. You might need another, might need a different paintbrush. You might use some house paint, might throw some acrylic,
Gotta do.
whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
You pull it together. It might be mixed media, which you put, things from all over the place, and it becomes this community of beauty in a
Mhm.
sense. And so as long as I have, as long as I can keep getting up, I'm getting out.
Yeah. You're
And
really like you're living embodiment of like art and advocacy. It's so great to see. And it's real. Like I love the way that you liken art to community in and of itself. It's like, what is the process of making art? What is the process of making a community and vice versa? And how they can complement one another. It's just so major. I'm like
yeah,
lost for words.
it's in the blood now. It's stuck with me. Maybe I stuck with it. I always think, I found art. I think art just found me.
That's how it happens.
It was like, "Hey man, guess what?
Hey, hey,
It's art." Like, okay, I'm here.
let's go.
So,
So I have one last question and then
okay.
I will let you go because I know I'm like asking all of the things.
Oh, no worries.
But considering our entire conversation, what brings you joy in life? Not
I'm
like
gonna
a
give you. I'll give you the simple answer.
thank you.
Then I give you the
Okay. Okay.
expounded answer. Waking up every day gives me joy,
Hmm.
right? People ask me, "How's your day?" I said, "I woke up. Everything else is just a bonus. Good, bad, and everything in between is a bonus, because there's some people who don't wake up the next day, who didn't know that the night or the day before was going to be their last. So every time I wake up, I'm like, okay, thank you, let's go. Have other folks ask me, "When's your birthday?" I said, "What you mean? The day I was born, or when's my birthday?" Because I said I was born November 27th, but my birthday is every day, because if I wake up the same dude I was yesterday, I wasted a day. So if I'm new, that means this is day one of Sean Garrison, right?
Day
So
one.
every day,
Literally is
right? So
all
every day is a day one. So that's the simple version. But joy
great.
is just hearing the laughter in people's voices, or the smile in their voice, or being able to, make someone smile, or make someone happy, or make someone say, "Hey man, proud of you." Okay, cool. I must be doing the right thing.
Hmm.
Making my kids smile, you
Yeah.
know, letting, making sure that, that my people know, you at least you got one cat in the fight. Um, and art, art brings me joy because I can get lost in art,
Mm.
which is the beauty of, which is one reason why I do abstract art, right? I was telling this other, who I was talking to, but I said, I do abstract art. Oh, actually, it was a local reporter guy here. I said, I'm like, abstract art to me is like, there's realism, which is great. People who do that, I know some do it well, it's wonderful. And I can do that, but it's so constricting. I
Mhm.
said, realistic work, folks, it's like, I'll be like the horse in the stable,
Yeah.
right? I could only go so far. But then if you have to go past the stable, look in the distance, see this wild mare just running free, that's me.
Mhm.
And that's abstract art for me. I could sit just paint a glass. So that's great for those who want to do it.
Yeah, but for you,
But no, and here it's like over caffeinated kindergarten kids running in my head every day, all day. And they're not gonna sit still in the classroom. We need to be at recess all day long.
all day long, you
so,
can ask them.
so, and that brings me joy just to be able to go, I'm gonna breathe a little bit on this canvas or on this, if I'm writing
Mhm.
and say what I have to say, and when the analogy of the painting, when it tells me it's done, because it tells me it's done, I don't tell it it's done.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, all right, this is what happiness is about.
Mhm.
Um, and
That
as an artist who doesn't want his babies laying around all day long, you need to grow up at somebody else's house. So I make a sale. That's even better.
yeah, just levels of joy.
There's levels of joy. There's levels of joy.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because I was talking to a local auction house because I'm working on auction off the original Walking on Air,
Mhm.
and I showed them this piece behind me, and they're like, you know what, man, we'll cut you a check for that right now. And I was like, you know what, let me get back to you because out of everything I've created, there's been a lot that I've created. For
Yeah.
some reason, this here behind me is like it's that one thing. I was like, do I really want to let this go? I don't know yet. So it's still sitting there, and it'll probably stick around until I do this show.
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, so that's joy. And again, just interacting with people. And,
That's lovely. Perfect answer. I mean, there are no perfect answers, but
right. I mean, and it sounds so
it,
cliche, right? But it's
no,
like,
what is cliche
all
anyway?
right, what is
It
cliche?
has
And
a
I said because I'm gonna shut up after this. But I
go.
remember I was in this interview. This is years ago
Yeah.
at to sell ads for a local newspaper,
Mhm.
right? And they've since been shuttered. But anyway, so they asked me, uh, what was the question? It was something about like getting awards or something like that. And it can't remember how they phrased the question. But I think what they wanted to ask me was, "Are you motivated by?" No, it was what it was. Are you motivated by money or something? What motivates you? That was the question. But I
Okay.
knew what they were getting at. And since I knew that, I said, you know what, awards and pats on the back at work, that doesn't motivate me. Making my kids motivate me. Making my kids, ooh, that sounded funny. Making my kids proud of me motivates me.
Making your kids happy motivates
There
you.
you go. Making them proud. That motivates me. And I don't think that was an answer they were looking for. I said, I've gotten trophies, I've played sports, I've done all that. That's like, okay. But hearing my kids say that was pretty dope, Dad. I'm proud of you. That's why I do what I do. Or hearing my people go, man, thank you for saying that. After that the walking on air piece with MSNBC and the local thing, I've got quite a few people saying, really appreciate you, keeping it real and speaking your truth. And
Yeah.
so that's what motivates me to know that I've awakened something in someone, that made them feel better about our space, not their space, because we're in this together, our space. And so that's what keeps me going. That's like, hey,
Then you're
joy.
going to be going on forever because you really the responses to your work, to your advocacy, your energy. I
Mhm.
mean, I just know when I saw you on television, and I like I didn't know your name. I didn't know your name. I was just like, this is what it's about. Like an artist using his tools, his emotions to help other people express emotions in addition to expressing his own. It was like you really opened up conversation and a certain medium for other people to understand like their feelings around the past year, lifetime, decades, centuries of the Black experience. So, yeah, like your work is immortal. It is. That's the beauty of
Sure.
art. Part of the
That's
beauty.
right.
Wow. This has just been such a great conversation.
Yes, and I appreciate it. I
Where
appreciate
can we
the opportunity.
I'm so glad that like I just enjoy talking to you every time we speak, but where can we find you on social media? Yeah, where can people find you in your work?
So Instagram I'm a Sean Garrison artist.
Hmm.
SEAN. Make sure I don't forget this. GARRISONARTIST. It's all one word.
On the thing too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I guess you get. That's the beauty of editing. But
Mhm.
but then also I have a website www.seangarrisonartist.com, and I do have a Facebook page, Sean Garrison Artist. I'm still tinkering with Facebook. They get kind of funny with certain things, so I'm still navigating that. But I'm definitely on Instagram. I have my website, which has a lot of the walking on air
Yeah.
things on it. I need to update it to add a few other things that I have going on, prints for purchase, and so on and so forth. So that's where I can be found, and and by the fall there'll be a lot more on there because I'm working on a show, art show. Um, yeah, and then there's and my artist in residency. Once that's done, that show starts in January.
January. Okay.
That's gonna be that's gonna be the game changer.
I cannot wait to see it. We definitely
So,
let our community know about it for sure.
yes, yes, please do,
Sounds
because
like
that's
interesting.
gonna. I'm either gonna get listen. I'm either gonna get hugged or spit on after this show,
Or both.
or both, because certain things that I think about just make me just smile and go, "Oh, I just can't wait."
Oh gosh.
This show is one of them because it's gonna touch on a lot of our existence here, and so it'll be conversation starters, and that's where we start.
Yeah. Well, I know you'll enjoy the process of creating and, preparing for the show. We can't wait to see it. And again, thank you so much, Sean, for
Thank you.
joining us today.
Yes, I appreciate you reaching out. This is pretty. I almost feel like important right now.
You are important. I feel important because you're speaking with me. Vice versa. It goes both ways.
That's right. That's right. But I really appreciate it. So
Um,
it's been awesome. It's a great way to start my day.
Yay, same. Me too. Well, it's like the middle of the day, but relative.
Yeah.
Well, have an amazing day, rest of the day and rest of
Thank
the
you. You
week.
too.
Thank
Indeed.
you so
Yeah, we still got work to do, but we good to go.
always.
So thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it. Bye bye.